Hello, everybody, and welcome to ANTIC episode 125 for February 2026. And actually, we're recording the day after Valentine's Day. I hope you guys all got something nice for your significant other. But my name is Randy Kindig, and I'm the host for this episode. I've got my usual co-host here with me, Kay Savitz. Hey, Kay, how are you doing,
Hello,
sir?
hello.
And Brad Arnold. Hey, Brad.
How you doing?
And we've got a special guest this month. Wade Ripkowski is here with us, and Wade's got a lot to talk about what he's been working on. How you doing, Wade?
Good yourself. Well, I heard you, so everybody's good.
Yeah. Well,
Wade
we
can't
are
keep away from
excited,
podcasting, can he?
I've been trying.
but you agreed to come on our podcast and tell us about what you've been working on since you quit your
That's true.
podcasting.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
why don't we go ahead and start out with that and tell us what you've been working on, buddy?
so the biggest thing that I've done is taken back that time and concentrated on some projects that I really wanted to work on. One of them in particular was connecting the Atari 8-bit to a SQL database. So the reason I wanted to do that was because, as you know, all of the databases for the Atari are either constrained by memory or they're constrained by disk space. So you can't really get a giant data set available to an Atari user. So I thought if I can hook it up to a SQL database, that eliminates the storage issue and potentially the memory related issues because you can pull back just the records that you want to look at any given time, right? So thought about this a couple of years ago, and we just really didn't have all the pieces in place to get it to work. So I started writing just a little utility program to connect to kubesql, and I'll tell you why I chose kubesql in a minute here. But this program ended up being something that I used to interact with the backside kubesql server, which front ends SQLite databases, and I captured outputs from commands I issued to it and to see how they looked so I could parse them on the 8-bit. Um, so to get back to why I chose kubesql is I was looking for a single file database engine, something lightweight, something like in the DBase format type stuff. I had written a program or a Atari 8-bit DBase driver that pretty much followed the DBase format. It had a few modifications to cut down on size, but it didn't have indexing, so that kind of limits its ability to be useful in an application form. And not to say indexing couldn't be added, but I just hit a point where I didn't think it was going to be useful. So I started looking at other options, and kubesql I found it allowed for two free connections to the SQLite databases on the backside, and it was very lightweight. You can run it on your desktop, you can run it on a server, you can spin it up and down, you can leave it running, whatever. It just doesn't take any resources at all. And SQLite itself is just a file, so you don't have to worry about anything running there. And between the two of those, they kind of fit the bill, so I adopted that and started looking forward. So with that target in mind, I started developing the CubeDot program, which, like I said, was kind of started out just as a utility for me to interact with it. But I started adding more and more commands to it from the kubesql admin guide, and because I needed to figure out different things. And so as I would add them, I would learn that, hey, this thing could be kind of an admin console. So I started adding as many of the admin console commands as I could and ended up basically with an Atari 8-bit uh, dot prompt style user interface. And I went with a dot prompt because I cut my teeth on databases with DBase and Fox Plus, and then grew that into Clipper and all that kind of stuff. So
I'm sorry, I
I
don't
was
know what a
very
dot
familiar.
prompt is.
So dot prompt, if you go back and look at DBase and Fox Plus, When you interact with the database, you're just presented with a dot. That is your prompt. And then you type in your command from there and it spits back the results. So one of the things that's nice about the SQLite implementation and the kubesql interacting with it is, from an Atari perspective, if you use a double-sided, or not double-sided, double density diskette, you get what, 180K max? So SQLite is capable of holding 281 terabytes of data. So that is about 3 billion 90K diskettes, or 1.5 billion double density diskettes. So if you get room to save all those in your room, then by all means start doing it. But anyway, so that it can hold a massive amount of data, even though you're only looking at little tiny pieces of it at a time. Um, the the biggest roadblock I faced in starting to do this was getting the authentication and the encryption to talk to the kubesql server. So I monkeyed around with this a bit for, I don't know, it was a couple of years ago when I first started doing this. And I found algorithms to do all the SHA hashing and stuff. But by the time I got them incorporated, they took up such large pieces of memory that I really didn't have a lot of room for the applications. So I reached out to the FujiNet team because I was using FujiNet anyway for the networking pieces and said, hey, is it possible to add SHA hashing to this thing? Tom turned around within like a couple of days and said, here you go. So, did some little troubleshooting with it and fixed one issue with it, but
So,
we
no,
got
so
it
now
working.
you're offloading the SHA hashing to the FujiNet device itself?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
I take there's a complex algorithm to talk to the kubesql server, but basically I pass the pieces to it and then ask it. It does like three different hashes in order to get the final password and username in a presentable format. But yeah, basically send off the piece of information. FujiNet spits it back, grab that, send it back, and then when I end up with the full encrypted token, then I can send that over to the kubesql server, and then that grants the authentication for that session. So that started working beautifully. Once it did, then I had to start working on, how do I make this thing actually do stuff? And that's where I was working on the CubeDot program, was interacting with it and getting the, outputs back. So one of the things that kubesql does is it is all JSON based. So when you formulate a command to send to it, like whether it's an insert, a select, or whatever, you have to encapsulate it in a special JSON format. And there are different command structures for those, aside from the SQL structure itself. And so getting that to work was pretty easy, but parsing the results was another story. And I was initially trying to use the FujiNet's built-in JSON parsers, but the way that the data is structured coming back from kubesql made it a little bit difficult because you didn't always know the row names that were going to come back depending upon the databases that you're interacting with. You didn't really know how many rows were going to come back in the JSON and different things like that. So I was really struggling with getting those to work. And then I kind of floundered on that for a good 5 or 6 months. And then finally woke up one morning and had an idea. So I wrote my own JSON parser that grabbed the result set back, but I did realize that it would have to have a limitation because you only got 48K to work with, so I had to implement a buffer limitation. So while the FujiNet JSON stuff can handle a much larger return set, this is working to get those smaller return sets, and I'm able to limit them with the commands that I'm issuing to get the data, right? So if I do a select, I can say limit this to 10 results, and then I get enough records back that I'm not going to overflow. So with the parser working, I was able to start making progress on building a proof of concept application, and that was the FujiDo program, and that's basically a task manager. And the the what I wanted to do is just build it as robust as I could. So I had filtering in there so you could, filter on the different priorities of your tasks, filter on the completeness of them. I had ordering in there so you could change the sort order from priority to due date to title. I could change this ordering reverse or forward. And then the one thing that I really absolutely wanted to have was a search. So, and I didn't want to just search on the title, so I added a tags field so that you could, put in whatever keywords you want and then search for those and have them appear in your result set. So that took me a while to get this working that way, and I often found myself having to go back and rework some of my library routines because of the way that data was actually coming back in the real world versus what I had, tested with in the limited data sets. So my library is a little out of date documentation wise, and I'm working on that. But I did end up getting it all there. And along the way, when I was building that, I had to learn how to get the CRUD operations to work from basically an application point of view. So I end up incorporating a limited set of those into CubeDot as well. So
I'm
not
sorry,
only can
I'm
it,
not a database guy. What's CRUD stand for?
okay, sorry, yep, that's create, read,
Create,
update, and
read,
delete.
update, delete.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
so create, make something new, read it obviously is a select, update is update the data, and D is delete it, right? So, um,
Hey,
but so I
wait,
end
when
up
you're talking about your library, you're talking about your A8C library, right? That you built a long time ago.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. So I have the SQL bindings in there for all of this stuff to be able to work. So, but with those CRUD operations in place, it really makes CubeDot pretty powerful. I mean, you can basically do some small inserts and updates and deletes, and you can manage your data, manage your users, manage the groups, manage permissions, and do all the different things that kubesql admin would normally do for like on the Mac OS client or the Linux client or Windows client, whatever, right? Um, but I used to build FujiDo and the other apps that we'll talk about in a second. My library has text user windows or text user interface routines. So I wanted to incorporate those as well to give it a modernish look and feel. So we got, standard dialogue forms that come up and you can tab between the different fields and, radio buttons and check boxes and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to take full advantage of everything that I had built and make this proof of concept. And I wanted it to all fit in 48K because I wanted to be, at the minimal level, I wanted to work on the lowest level hardware without having to use extended memory and stuff. So it was a challenge at times. I ended up having to prune a lot of different or tune a lot of different memory settings. And I had to learn a few C optimization tricks that I had probably known once before, but long forgotten. And basically, I got things working uh, in the footprint that I wanted, but there's not a lot of room for much else right now. It's very, very tight in 48K. So the way that FujiDo works and these companion apps is when you go into them, I've created a quick entry view or a form. So you can just go in and like hit new to do and then pop in there, add your to do and drop back out. You can also go in into like a view window and the view window gives you full control. So you can add records from there, you can view them, you can modify them, delete them. That's where you can do all your sorting and filtering and finding stuff. But when you're in that view, then the program is interacting with the backend SQL, grabbing 10 records at a time, right? So the first screen, you're going to have your first 10 records. If you got four screens, then you'll have, 30 to 40 records, whatever is there. But you can navigate between the screens, and each time you do so, it'll go get 10 more records, right? So those IO interactions I tried to keep to a minimum because those are costly in terms of time and pulling the data back. So if you're pulling back, let's say a K of data, that's a little bit to parse and it's going to take a second. So
That's one me of data.
yeah, that's right. So um, I got it to work, and I well, I created a demo video which I posted yesterday, both CubeDot and a FujiDo. And I left the normal speed I/O turned on, the slowest, so you could see what it actually is doing. And as you navigate between those 10 record screens, it's roughly about a second to get the next block of data. It's pretty acceptable. I've been using FujiDo just to, test it, make sure everything's working. I found some bugs, resolved them, and I'm totally okay with the speed. So it's
What can you
similar to,
expect on an 8-bit machine, right? I mean, it
yeah,
sounds pretty acceptable to me.
yeah. It's really not a big time killer at all. And even on modern machines like at work, when I pull back some big data sets, they take sometimes 10, 15 seconds. So if you're going to wait for that 1 second's not much to wait to go to one screen. So anyway,
Right.
um, so after I got that all done, a lot of times along the way when I was building FujiDo, I would get frustrated because I was running into, issues with parsing or issues with memory and so I would kind of internally refer to myself as Fuji poo. And, because I was just frustrated with it. And so towards the end of getting it built, I was like, you know what? I might as well build Fuji poo. So I built a poop logger. And as Tom Cherry Holmes pointed out, it's not only useful for you if you have gastrointestinal issues, but you could use it to monitor your dog's output.
Yeah, I guess you could. So
Uh,
useful. It's so
yeah.
useful, no doubt.
So, and then yesterday I released the last fun project, which is Dr. Love, and we'll just say that's a take on Fuji poo, but for other things to keep this clean. Go check it out on the website if you want. And there's a demo of CubeDot as well, right? That I said video.
Hold on, baby. I gotta go turn on the Atari. It'll just take me a few minutes for it to load. I have to write something down.
There you go. Well, presumably you do that afterwards. All right. So, overall, this
That's
took me about 2 years of nights and weekends to accomplish, and I'm pretty
that's
happy about the
awesome.
results. Yeah. So, I've
That's
got,
awesome. I mean, yeah, as you know, as I've talked about on here before, I really would like to use my Atari to track or to manage all of my collection, right? And I mean, this sort of thing really gets me a lot closer to what I'd like to be able to do, and yet find a way that I could also access the information remotely, like from a phone or a tablet while I'm out at a show
So, what do
or
you
whatever.
have? Maybe you said this. I'm sorry. What besides the Atari and the Fujinet? What machine is doing the heavy lifting outside?
the Cube SQL software is doing the heavy lifting.
Which is
And
running
that can
on
be,
Which on
you
your
can run it on your
modern
desktop. You
machine?
can run it
Yeah.
on a server, like a Windows server, a Linux server, Mac OS,
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's very, very lightweight, takes hardly no resources. The SQL light files themselves only take up disk space. So it's a very lightweight implementation. And that's what I wanted to stay away from is like, I didn't want to have to run Postgres or MySQL or a MariaDB and keep up with all the maintenance that goes along with those and all the resources that are required. And then, those they got to be running all the time. They're not as easy to spin up and down. So I wanted to stay away from that. I wanted it to be as simple to use as possible. And this is the closest I really got to it.
Yeah, I installed this kubectl. It was so easy, and
Yeah.
it was
And they do
running in a
have
few minutes.
a good like a manager application as well that costs money. I've been looking over it for the reporting aspects of it. It's not iOS, which doesn't meet what you're looking for. But kubectl does have like a web front end that you can also install on there. And I was playing around with that. You could execute some selects from it. So if you were recording this stuff, creating a database on your Atari, putting stuff in home inventory, whatever it is, and then you wanted to query it on the road, you could go back and hit your kubectl or interface and execute a select against it. And it's not going to be nice and pretty, but you get your output, right?
All
So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, way cool.
So
Very, very
how
cool.
are you using it besides tracking your bodily output?
So I'm not actually using the Fuji-Poo piece. I just did that for fun. But I'm using the Fuji-Do piece, the Fuji-Do, the task manager regularly. And what I'm working on now is well, let's back up. Those apps that I've already done basically are single table databases, right? So they're not relational in any means. So the one I'm working on now is a multi-table database with full parent-child relationships between them. So I've hit a small snag where SQLite doesn't like to do a delete with join. So you can't delete the parent record and the child records at the same time. And you can do it in a transaction, but that costs three I/O interactions. And you can tell I'm very concerned about the I/O interactions because every time you do one, it slows stuff down, right? So I'm trying to work through that so I can do that in a much more efficient fashion. Once I do, then I'll be able to finish this up. But it's about 80 to 90% complete. And I'm just working on the delete piece for that. And that's going to be a useful application. So it's not, some toy thing. And then the next thing down the road, I want to do something where there's a multiple user application. So like two people could use the same database but store their own data and not reference the same data set. So like,
Sure.
I have a user in the system and you have a user in the system. We're both accessing the same database, but it's our own data within that single database,
So
right? So
Randy and I could keep track of our own interviews or something, but
Oh,
have access to the the other
there
ones.
you go. Yeah, yeah.
I
What's
thought you were going to say keep track of our own poo and not worry about
what's the name of the app for tracking your sex life?
Dr. Love.
Dr. Love. So that's a relational database, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Ouch. Ouch.
So
Oh, that's
other than
bad.
the cube SQL stuff, that's where I've been spending most of my time. Last year, I did while I was pondering some of the issues I had with the SQL interactions. I wrote Mr. Paint. That was probably mid last year. That's basically an ASCII screen drawing program, not an animation capture, just plain up straight ASCII screens or ASCII screens. I'm sorry. So I kind of wanted to do that so you could build like bulletin board screens and stuff like that. And one of the things that I found out while I was developing these applications with the cube stuff is Mr. Paint turns out to be great for prototyping screens. So you're not having to, you know, design the screens in code, compile it, see where it's messed up, and yeah, I just go draw the screen and say, okay, now I'm going to put this into code. So that's not a use case I thought of up front, but it's been really great for that. And then using all these programs, I have found, a couple quirks that I wanted to change to make them more user friendly, like in Fuji-Do, the task manager, like when you're on a form and you're filling something out, you can tab between the different fields, right? But if you hit escape to get out of one of the inputs, I don't have it currently coded to it so it will escape out of the form. It just escapes to the next input. So I want to change that behavior. And so if you press escape, that it just takes you directly out of the form, which I've been thinking about. And there's a relatively easy way to do that. So I'll probably implement that and there'll be updates to these applications with that change in it soon, once I get it tested. But that'll probably be after I finish this next project. Um, I think that's about it, man. The Mr. Paint, I've got a couple ideas there. I want to make it 80 columns so you can do a big, nice widescreen. And then um, there's a couple things that I've found with the menu that I'd like to change to cut down on keystrokes, and those are, I think, will be easy to implement as well. So
Fantastic, Wade. I mean, I love this stuff that really brings the Atari into the modern world, and the stuff you're working on is really does a great job of that.
yeah, the database
Um,
stuff I'm really, really excited about. Like I said,
mhm.
2 years, man. I've been trying to make this happen and finally got it here. And it was super exciting seeing Fuji do work. And I was like, oh my God, the doors are
Mhm.
open.
Yeah. I've got a fair amount of experience using databases, so if I can get all of this working, I think I could probably take advantage of it. And
Yeah, the libraries will be updated soon. After I finish this next project, I got to go back. I'll update the documentation, make sure it's published. Anybody can go use it. I'm not
mhm.
going to release the code for Cube.Fujidoo or Fujipoo or Dr. Love.
Oh man, you
Um,
really would.
but I am going to release the code for the libraries, and the libraries will have some hints on how to build the stuff. So, uh,
Okay,
but we'll just look for that in the next few weeks or a month or something like that. I'll have all the documentation up.
cool.
And
This
each
is
of these
probably one
apps,
of, go ahead.
each of these apps does have a comprehensive user guide. So, if you don't want to run it,
You do. It
go
is.
download the package and look at the documentation,
It's
or go
nice,
look at
nice documentation.
yeah, or
Yeah.
go look at the videos that I created because they give you a good idea how they look and feel. But CubeDot's documentation in particular is quite extensive and give you a real idea of the power that it brings to the platform.
Yeah. I've gotten to the point where I've gotten kubesql installed and I was running cube dot in an emulator. The only problem I ran into is that when I tried to run, every time I run cube dot, it takes me to a garbage screen. And then if I
Is
do a reset within the emulator, then it goes to cube dot, which I don't
That's weird.
understand.
It could be the DOS that you're using. I don't know. I did have to.
It's
So
just
this one
DOS
of
2.5.
I'll have to look in the compatibility notes to see what the issue, if there's any issues noted with it. But so one of the things I had to do to make this work with enough memory, with fitting in this 48K footprint, I had to lower
Hmm.
the load address on the applications, and so it's below 2000, but it's only well, some of them are a little bit deeper, but it's either one E00 or one F00, which is either 256 or 512 extra bytes. So, but that sometimes interferes with the DOSes.
Gotcha.
But with
Okay.
these apps, if you really wanted extra memory, once you had the application up and running, load it all from disk and you read your configuration file in, you could feel free to stomp on the memory of DOS because you don't need it after that because you're only dealing with FujiNet.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I will definitely be playing with some of this stuff more and probably throwing you some questions every once in a
Yeah,
while,
sure.
but
And I'll
very cool
always answer
stuff.
questions.
Very cool stuff. Appreciate you giving us an update. This is probably one of the more technical updates that we've ever had on this podcast. You are definitely more technically minded than the rest of us here, but
Well, thanks for letting me talk about it.
good, good stuff. All right, well, let's hop over to Kay, see what Kay's been up to in
Yeah,
the Atari
not too
world.
much. I not compared to Wade. Holy cow! I just yesterday received a copy of a book that I apparently pre-ordered called King Pong: How Atari Bounced Across Markets to Make Millions, published by MIT Press. It's not too thick, and it is a little history of the earlier days of Atari, and so I'm looking forward to reading that. Um, I donated a bunch of newsletters to the Strong Museum of Play, including the that huge thick stack of newsletters that I talked about before from August 1987, my Atari newsletter time capsule. They were happy to accept those, so they are scanned on Internet Archive as individual newsletters and also as one thick 700-page file. And now, if you want to go see the real thing, you get yourself to Rochester, New York, and the Strong will let you look at them. Um, and my little project, this is I kind of something I kind of started out just kind of playing with. I've been playing with Fuji-san still and the new version of Atari 800 Mac X, and I discovered a page on the FujiNet GitHub. It's called the application ideas page, and it's just like a list of some. It says a list of some brainstormed ideas for potential applications that can utilize FujiNet in various ways. And I have been enjoying the ability to finally, after all these years, um, access an emulated FujiNet from an emulated Atari on my Mac. And so one of the ideas on this application ideas page is for under productivity. It says calendar. It says parse ICS files, e.g., Google shared calendars, and display events in a day, week, and month views. And I thought that sounds like fun. Like, just can I uh, open an ICS file and get that information to the Atari? Just kind of step one. Can I do that? And the answer is yes, I can, and I've made tiny steps in that direction. I was really hitting against bugs in Fujisan and some, I don't remember now, some problems, or I was having issues with Atari 800 Mac X, the FujiNet emulator, and then like Fujisan, I was having, it's a new program and I was finding little bugs in it. Um, anyway, so basically I got to the point where I can point it to an ICS, which is a Google Calendar type file, and then download it and parse through it and like show like, okay, here's the event name, here's the event time, and there was something else. Um, just like the basic information about when it is and what it is. And there was one other piece of information that I managed to parse out and it like lists them on the screen. That's all it's doing right now. Um, but I'm using, FujiNet to get the information and parse this ICS file. And my idea was to have a scrolling events, like in graphics one or two, a scrolling like calendar of like what's happening, like maybe a vintage computer show could have a scrolling thing of like, at on this date on this time, there's going to be a talk at noon about this and a talk about one about this, and it's kind of like a scroll, like a something like you might have seen like at a hotel in the 80s about their
Yeah.
events, that conferences, events, or even like on a cable television, local access station about like what's happening, a TV schedule sort of thing. Um, so I think that is possible. And then I was talking to Tom Cherryholmes about it, and he is more interested in a a calendar style thing where you can see like the month view of a calendar, like what you are doing, have it on your calendar this month, or what are you doing, what's your schedule for today, kind of like what Google Calendar can do. And that seems possible too. And that could be the same app or a different app as my app. But basically, step one is being able to cogently parse the ICS data. So I'm kind of working on that. And then I got distracted by other things and whatever. So that's kind of my semi project, and I don't know what'll come of it, or but I think it's something I like to get back to and play with that. Anyway, if you're looking for an idea of something to do with FujiNet, or I guess you have an idea of something to do with FujiNet, that you should check out the application ideas page on the FujiNet GitHub, and there's plenty of ideas there.
Yeah, that's great. Now, you may have said, are you using Fast Basic? Did you say?
Yes, I didn't say.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
I am using Fast Basic, and so far I have been just using Fast Basic in the IDE, the Atari IDE, um,
Hmm.
which has been fine. And if this thing gets much bigger, I'm going to have to relearn how to do it on my Mac and have it compile on the Mac and send it to the emulator. And
Yeah.
at one point,
And
I knew how to do it, and I would just have to refigure out that situation. But you know,
well, I know that Paolo is working on the VS Code connection to Fujisan so
mhm.
that eventually you could use VS Code and
Yeah.
have it create your app and send it over and run it.
I think I had that working at one point months ago with, but with something. On
Ooh.
it, and
Let's
that's
see.
fine. If I have to do it that way, that's fine. I don't use VS Code in any other aspect of my life. Um, I would like to just be able to use BB Edit and the editor I'm familiar with on the Mac, and just like use that editor and hit a button and have it. Years and years ago, I had it set up with Turbo Basic XL and one of those programs where I could code something in BB Edit. I could hit, F13 or something, and it would compile it all up and with TBXL parser and so I would like to see if I can maybe just use something like that. That's what makes sense for me rather than using VS Code. But whatever, it's learning experience, and I'll figure out one way or the other. So um, anyway, parsing ICS files. That's what I'm playing with.
Fun,
Yeah.
fun. This is definitely a programmer-oriented show this month. All right, Bradley, what have you been up to, sir?
Well, I got nothing because I
Oh,
ain't a programmer. Uh, we did have our uh, monthly uh, Atlanta Historical Computing Society club meeting yesterday, and I got my big Atari acquisition for the month. It's been one of the guys gave me uh, um, Atari joystick to USB converter. It's got two Atari joystick, male plugs and a USB, and you can use your CX10 or whatever on a PC, I guess.
hmm.
And he gave me a single one. It was in a bag, and he had written Atari USB converter on it. And I don't know if you can see it in the camera. There it is. Can you see that
The nine
Atari?
pins.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
look at
that's a.
it. Uh, it's
Is there a pin missing? It's hard to tell, honestly. On
it's
this.
yeah. I know
Yeah, I
it's
can't see
hard to
him
tell.
very well.
It's anyway. Uh, and for those on audio podcast, it's a Nintendo converter.
Oh.
It's not an Atari converter at all. It's for a Nintendo joystick, gamepad for an NES gamepad, and uh, and I looked at it and it's like, okay, because he had written on the bag that he had them in that it was an Atari, and it's like, okay, you don't play games much, do you? And but yeah, I haven't done much Atari because my son's in Africa, and so for to do anything with him, we've been playing games in the day, and so I've been doing stuff with him over long distance overseas. And although I did get my eye patch off, so I can see again.
That's right. That's
And
right. Last month you had an eye patch on.
yeah,
So
so
it's
that kind of delayed stuff. I've been wanting to get back, to finish setting up my little office and get my basic project going again. And although the other day I did look over and saw my uh, Atari's language programs, it's like I've always been wanting to brush up my German a little bit. I've got the Atari
there you go.
course for that, so it's like, yeah,
Hmm.
I can go over there and insult people inadvertently, and just make a fool of myself. And
As long as German hasn't changed much in the last
yeah,
50 years, right?
and but
Very
yeah.
good.
So what you been up to?
Well, I've had a couple things going on since the last show. I mentioned on the show before that I had gotten this little device called the Smith Corona Messenger Module, which is used specifically to hook Smith Corona typewriters up that have the specific models have a serial port right on the typewriter. and hook that up to a computer. And then you could send your output from your computer right to the typewriter. So I've been on kind of a kick to get all that going since I got the messenger module, and I did acquire a Smith Corona ultrasonic 450 typewriter. And I decided I'd hook them up to my Atari since I had all my Atari sitting around and everything I needed to try to get that working. So I pulled out my 130XE and 850 interface and hooked everything up through the messenger module, and sure enough, it worked. I got it working. So I plugged in Atari Writer and typed a little bit, and then sent it off to the printer or to the typewriter, and it worked great. Now, the one problem I did run into initially was that it wasn't doing any line feeds. So when I sent the
You save paper that way.
file over, yeah, it does. It definitely saves paper. It's a little hard to read though that way,
Yeah.
and it turns out that the messenger module itself has some dip switches in it, and there are ways you can control that. So I went in and set it to automatically send the line feeds at the end of each line, and there we go. Everything worked great. So that was kind of cool to play with. I might hook it up to some other machines now and try it out. Now, of course, I can't print graphics, but if I want to print out a text document, works great.
Sure.
And
It'll look great too. Letter
it
quality.
looks great.
But you could do ASCII graphics,
Yeah, I guess you could.
Snoopy cursing the Red Baron. There's some classic
Right.
ASCII art that you could grab.
Yeah. I was thinking I might even bring this whole setup to the computer show that we got coming up for our club here at end of March.
Nice. No, you need to set up some sort of messaging situation where people can message you on Blue Sky or something, and FujiNet will notice that and then type out the DMs or something like that. Someone comes to send you a message and it would come out on the typewriter. You'd be woken up at 3 a.m. with clackety clackety clackety, and you could see the messages.
There's another idea for a FujiNet application, right?
Teletype, hey, go for it.
Yeah. So that was fun, and it was great to see it working. I wasn't sure that messenger module even worked, but everything worked great. And then the other thing that I worked on is, I mentioned before, I'm working on a quick reference book for all computers, so that when you pull out a computer, at least you've got some basic information on how to use the thing. And I finished what I'm calling a prototype of the Atari chapter, since I started with the Atari, since that's the one I know the most about. And so I created a quick reference for each of the different models of Atari computers, and stuck it out on Discord and under Floppy Days and ANTIC both, and asked for some feedback. And I've been getting some feedback already, so it's good. It's fun, and I hope to take this as basically a template. Use the Atari chapter as a template for creating it for all the other machines as well.
Hey, your demo looks good.
Great, thanks. Appreciate it. It's funny when you put things out for comment, and then you get some, well, you should have done it this way, and this would be much better. It's almost like, well, I did ask for feedback.
Yeah, but you got to do things the way you want them. You'll never ever please everybody.
That's true. You're never going to. So that's it. That's what I've been up to, and so that's a pretty healthy what we've been up to this month. Ready to jump into the Atari news, guys?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. First up, we have new and updated games. What this is about, there's a Japanese developer whose name is Inufuto. I don't know how you pronounce it. Inufuto. He's been producing a lot of different games The interesting thing about what he does is that when he develops a game, it is he's got a workflow established that he can target a lot of different platforms for the same game. So he has made a lot of different games. There's 21 games so far that he's made that has an Atari 8-bit version, and he it's now available if you want all of those games for the Atari. It's now available in cartridge format, so you can stick it on a multi-cart or a max flash cartridge, or use it with emulators or whatever, and you can run all 21 games. So
Looks like a lot of platformers, shoot 'em ups, and arcade type maze games in the style of, I don't know, I want to say, you know, Bubble Bobble, uh, Pac-Man, that sort of thing. Neat.
yep, cool stuff. Wade, do you mind talking about the new or the work that's been done on the mini maze mode for FujiNet?
It was Moswald. He's been working for the last few weeks on retooling the FujiNet mini maze so it can use TCP/IP as opposed to the MIDI syntax. And he's modified the ROM to have a larger timeout, and he's also fine-tuned the flow control. I did see a little bit about this on Discord, and I was not really paying too much of attention, but he's got it now working and stable, and there's going to be an upcoming update for it. And in addition to the firmware changes, he made a lobby specifically for MIDI Maze. I believe that's in the FujiNet, if I'm not mistaken. And it works with the CART version or the XEX version with the modified I/O timeout of the MIDI Maze program. The XEX version is a lot easier because you just need to mount and boot the game disk, but it also does require 256K RAM, so you got to have a beefy machine,
Oh, who's got
and
that
it
kind of
takes a little
memory?
bit
That's
longer to
ridiculous.
load the game. The disc-based game has it can be mounted from a TNFS spot on looks like Net Games, and it'll take you straight into the game lobby. So that's one thing that I've been wanting to do is when I whooped Kevin on or Kay on this many years ago and at a VCF, I want to get back into it. So
Get over it, man. Jeez.
She's never forgotten that, has he? Yeah, this is pretty cool. I've never played with the mini maze mode in FujiNet before, but sounds like there might have been some issues with it that Model spent on a time here making better.
well, now you
So
can play over the internet, right? Instead of
yeah,
next to
exactly.
another computer. So
Yeah, way
Beautiful.
cool. All right, let's move into new and updated utility application and non-game software.
See, I feel like
First
this
up
is
is
no, we're
one.
now this is Wade's territory. Wade should do this entire section. This is this.
I
Yeah,
added one at the end.
well,
Okay, good.
I'm going to talk about this first one because I've been playing with it a little bit. There's a new emulator that has come out by Anima Incorpore. Um, it's called A8E. It's an 800XL emulator. He's got the source out there for it, but the interesting thing to me is that he's got a browser version of it created. So, as far as I know, this is the first browser version of a full-blown Atari 8-bit emulator that has been created. I went out there, I've been playing with it quite a bit, trying to load software and do things, and it's pretty cool. It actually works fairly well so far with what I've played with. And he says it's the current work is mainly being used as a practical test bed for AI assisted coding. So apparently he's using AI to help improve this emulator that was initially released back in 2004. And he decided to jump back in and improve it.
Holy cow! I just
So
like started it up, and it's just like I need an ATR, and I just
yeah, There you
I
are.
just grabbed a random
Yeah,
ATR from my system and it's just like, yep, you're playing air raid now. Oh, neat. That's
it is very
fun.
cool. Yeah.
Huh. So
So
okay, I'm interested in his
nice
workflow of how he does whatever he's doing in his
with his
AI
AI
program and
assisted
how does
coding.
it get from there into the web browser.
Well, jump into the Atari Age forums. We've got the link
Uh-huh.
in the show notes,
Neat.
and you can ask him some questions.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, neat. And it's the screen is cute. It's kind of got rounded corners and a little bit skewed, so it looks like a CRT.
And
Okay,
it's got some nice power.
I
You can
can't
bring up
podcast anymore. I'm playing air raid. Sorry.
you can bring up an on-screen keyboard. You can set whether you're going to boot with or without BASIC. There's all sorts of features there, and it's
Oh,
got a little help screen as
that is
well.
really fun. Neat.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
very cool.
there's been browser-based Macintoshes forever. You can run
Yeah,
any
right.
version of any old
Uh,
Mac, and those are amazing, and that's great and good for. But it's nice to see an Atari version. That's wonderful.
which being browser based means you could run it on anything, right? You could run it on your
Yeah,
phone, you could run it on your tablet, whatever. So,
right. Fun.
Kay, you want to talk about the next one?
I would love
Also,
to, but
some
I need to
emulator
close this
stuff.
game window that I have got going.
Yeah, you
Oh,
quit playing the games now.
Oh yeah, well,
I,
it's fun though. 5 more minutes.
I just I will say this. I just noticed that it will launch a ATR out of a zip file multiple directories down.
Hmm.
I had a zip file with and multiple. I had to drill down multiple directories to find an ATR file, and it ran it. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
And I certainly don't want to show what it I randomly picked. All right.
Um, from our friend Benj Edwards. Uh, there's a new GitHub for something called Atari 800-AI. I guess it's AI, not AL. All right. Um, a fork of the Atari 800 emulator with built-in AI/automation interface via Unix socket. The fork adds a real-time AI interface that allows external programs to control the emulator programmatically, joystick, keyboard, console keys, read screen output, inject hardware registers, read and write memory, set breakpoints, save and load emulator state, and run frame by frame for precise control. Useful for automated testing, debugging tools, and programmatic emulator control. And we have a link to the GitHub, which has all of the code, and he's got an API reference and little technical notes, and it is GPL licensed, it looks like, because Atari 800 is, and that looks fun. Neat.
All righty. Very cool.
Alrighty. Yeah.
So, Brad, you want to tell us about the update to some tools from DMSE?
Yeah, you updated Make ATR, MKATR, which includes LSATR tools, and it supports, says here, mini Atari 8-bit DOSes, which is good because Atari 16-bit DOSes we don't like, so we'll just focus on the 8-bit DOSes and DOS 1. Okay, I guess people still use it because, and I'm not going to read the list, but a whole bunch of various DOSes, uh, including some that supports 16 megabyte images and such. Uh, the zip file from the GitHub has binaries for Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. And let's see, in the
So
Linux
have you
support.
ever used these, Brad? Have you ever used these tools?
Uh, yes, but I'm not going to say when because it was a long time ago. But
So
yeah,
these allow you to inject files into the disk images as well as pull them out. Is that right?
yeah,
you can make an ATR or you can view, do like a disk
yeah.
directory.
No, but can
So
you
we've
put the
got
file onto an existing ATR?
Actually,
good
this,
question.
yeah,
I think so.
I don't know if this one. It's now you're. Don't ask those questions. Mute him. Uh, I know some of them do because I've used them before when I would make make an ATR.
Anyway, there's some nice
Yeah.
command line tools to do things if you want to do them via command line from your modern machine, which is can be handy.
Yeah, you can pull files out. It's not saying to inject a file. It kind of implies that you have to recreate the ATR.
All right, this next one I'm kind of excited about. John Paul Jones actually sent all of us an email about this, and then I had a lot of interaction with him. Um, he signed his emails as Paul, so he must go by Paul, even though his name's John Paul Jones. But it's called AspeQT 2K26. So it's a modernized fork of the Respect and Aspect code base, which are I don't know that I need to explain to a lot of you, but some of you may need to explain that this is a way for connecting your Atari computer to a modern machine and then being able to send information across. And basically, I know one of the things you can use it for is use your modern machine to look like it's a disk drive to your Atari.
Yeah, peripheral
And
emulator.
yeah, peripheral emulator sort of thing. Um, but this, so he's working on moving away from the older QT, what was QT5, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's what he said in his email is
So he's
QT5.
moving to the newer QT6, so it won't get outdated.
Yeah.
He's integrating TNFS, so you have a built-in TNFS browser. So if you're using FujiNet, you can do TNFS browsing directly. SIO, continued SIO support. He says he's integrated a native TNFS client directly into the Aspect application. So you can do desktop-driven browsing. Instead of using the Atari to navigate remote directories, use your modern PC's keyboard, mouse, and large display to browse global TNFS repositories, find an image, and mount it to a virtual slot in seconds.
Which is cool.
Kind of cool. Very cool. You can have D1 mounted to your local file on your hard drive for development or high-speed saves, while having D2 through DJ mounted to remote images sitting on servers across the globe. Virtual floppy management treats the entire internet-based TNFS ecosystem as if it were a local file system sitting on your PC. And he says stable high-speed SIO. So he said, we aren't replacing the FujiNet experience at all. We're expanding it by giving users a high-performance desktop gateway to the same internet ecosystem.
Yeah.
And just recently, he sent a note and he says, since we last spoke, we pushed the envelope a bit further with two new Phantom devices that might be of interest to your listeners. A Y device, which is a clipboard, which allows the Atari to read and write directly to the host computer system's clipboard. So you can print to the Y device and then paste it into Notepad on your PC or vice versa. Very cool. Also a W device, which is a web pipe, which introduces a thin client concept. Instead of coding complex network stacks on the Atari, you can write simple back-end scripts on your PC. The Atari sends a text command. The PC does the heavy lifting. like querying AI or fetching stock prices, and sends the result back. Um, so, wow, this is some very interesting stuff. And I think after I get done playing with Cube Dot, Wade, I want to play with this a little bit and see what it can do.
Yeah, it
What do you
sounds
guys think?
interesting.
Yeah, it just sounds really interesting, doesn't it? Talk about bringing your machine into the modern world.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to a while back I had a an old laptop I had gotten from somewhere that its entire meaning in life it's set on my desk next to my Atari,
Hmm.
and all it was it ran ASPEC, and it was just a you know the device emulator, but it was, instead of having to turn on my desktop, I had this old laptop, which is had just enough power to run it, and it was a good use case for that old. So since this one does Linux, I've actually, Linux will support uh, leaner hardware than modern Windows 11. So I may think about doing that again because I've got a couple of laptops I can do that with.
Yeah, yeah, that ought
Pretty
to be
cool.
fun to play with.
Yeah.
Let us know how that goes.
I got a
All
quick
right,
one.
Wade, I think you had one you wanted to throw in here.
Yeah, just a few days ago, A8Jan released a new version of the FujiNet PC launcher for Mac OS, and this is important for those of us that prefer Atari 800 Mac X on ARM processors from Apple, right? The silicone, Apple silicone. This
That's
new
me.
version supports a new parameter called dash dash no hub, which, as you know, if you're going to run FujiNet PC on your Mac and use Atari 800 Mac X, the hub has to be turned off. So before you had to launch it, go and disable the hub, and then you could launch your Atari 800 Mac X instance. Well, now you can just launch the launcher with the dash dash no hub parameter. It starts up without the hub turned on. The new version is 2602. The previous one was 2410, so it's got quite a bit of firmware updates as well. And I was able to take this and build an automated workflow. So the automated workflow has three steps. One, it launches the launcher with the no hub parameter. Then it opens up a config file that I have for Atari 800 Mac X, and then it launches Atari 800 Mac X with that config file. So now I have specific drives and machine configuration, FujiNet enabled, and I can get into like my database applications that I've been working on almost instantly. It takes just a couple of seconds, and I don't have to fiddle around with a whole bunch of key clicks doing stuff anymore. So you should go check that out if you're using FujiNet PC Launcher, because that update does make life a lot easier.
I
All right,
I
cool.
don't know what. Okay, I feel like feel like you guys are doing cooler things that I don't understand. The I don't know what the no hub parameter is. When I use FujiNet with Atari 800 Mac X, I start the FujiNet thing. I just have a command that I paste in that I have in my notes, and it starts the FujiNet, and then I start the Atari 800 Mac X, and then it all works. What am I missing?
So the FujiNet PC Launcher, I think you're using the command line FujiNet PC emulator, right? So the
Yes,
launcher is a graphical um, launcher for FujiNet PC,
I
and
see.
it actually presents a little picture of a FujiNet on the screen,
Hmm.
but it has the ability to control the net SIO and the net hub independently. And you also have, quick access to your reset buttons and stuff like that. And it's a nice little GUI interface that goes along with all the nicety things that the Mac does, right? So
I see. So I would use this to start the FujiNet rather than the command line thing that I've been
yes,
doing.
yep, yep.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Today I learned. I'm going to star
The,
this in
and
GitHub.
the PC launcher has been around for quite a while, right? But this is just an improvement to that. So when you use the no hub parameter, it starts at how does it change
So
the way it
there's
starts?
two pieces of it, right? You have the net SIO, and then you have the net hub. The net hub is only used for Altera. Atari 800 Mac X, if you're using it, you have to turn that off.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, awesome. Well, that's it for the technical stuff, I think. Let's move into magazines, newsletters, and books. Kay, you want to talk about this new book that has come out?
Yes, new book, Basic Fun on your A400 Mini, basic for real hardware and emulators too, by John McGinnis. This is a book at Amazon. This hands-on guide brings the fun and creativity of Atari Basic to your A400 Mini. It works on real Atari 8-bit computers and modern emulators too. What you'll learn: how to get started with Atari Basic on the Mini, learn the fundamentals of programming on the basic language, writing and running classic player missile graphics demos, creating graphics and sound using the ANTIC and Pokey chips, controlling animation and user input the retro way. I'm wondering what that means. Understanding memory registers, peaks and pokes, troubleshooting common Atari Basic errors and quirks. So yes, a new book about programming the Atari. It looks like it is $5.99 on Kindle or $23 on paper. It's probably print on demand. It is Basic Fun on your A400 Mini by John McGinnis.
All right, let's move on to Atari Insights update. Wade, since you're one of the authors of a rigor article there, you want to talk about the update to Atari Insights?
The latest issue has a lot of more information in there with John's weather station, I believe, that he's been working on. That's pretty interesting project that he's been doing. It's interesting to see how he's able to communicate with these devices and bring that information on his screen. And I gotta give it to him, because he's learning all this stuff basically from scratch again, and figuring out how to do it on its own, rather than copying and pasting other people's work, which is interesting. So, but there's always good stuff in the Atari Insights newsletter. You should go really look at it. I have been slacking off a little bit on there. I know I owe him a couple more articles on action. I just been too busy with the cube dot stuff and the my SQL stuff. But I got to get back into that, and I'll get him some more articles, so you'll see more of the action stuff coming up.
Next is Compute Gazette. The February issue of that has come out. For those of you that are watching the video, I am showing it on screen here. I don't know if you can see it that well or not, but
Looks like it has alternate reality on the cover, maybe.
alternate reality. Yeah, a bridge to the future. So what has come out there for Atari specific content? Jerry White has his typical article. This one is on programming fun in Atari Basic, which includes a basic program with type-in that introduces character set graphics. And he has a type-in that plays the theme song from Lost in Space. So that's fun. And then Tom Cherryholmes, he has one article here is on cross-platform FujiNet development. He's starting a whole series of articles focusing on developing a battleship game across all of the FujiNet platforms. And he's going to cover how to create the game server, how to create cross-platform software, and then the development of client software for each platform, starting with the Atari 8-bit. So going to be quite a long series here. But, if you're interested in developing for the FujiNet, this should be a great set of articles.
Beautiful.
And Brad's going to tell us about the ABAC Magazine 163 that's now out.
Well, why am I talking about it? You're the one holding it. it's
I'm just the eye candy for you.
and yeah, it's currently still only in German because
It
Randy
is.
hasn't finished
No, no, the
translation.
English translation is done. They just haven't got it published yet.
Okay. All right. So I'll let you slide. And let's see. There's articles on running BBC Basic on the Atari, which is interesting. I'd never thought of that. The results of the game competition for 2025, and the winner was Der Schenker 4, and the results of the hardware competition is also there. Uh, uh, Decent
Which
cart.
which which the winner was the decent cart
Mhm.
2350. I think you're getting ready to say, I
Yeah,
really want one of those. I wish
yeah,
somebody would make one and sell them.
and yeah, yeah. So I'm surprised they haven't come out yet. You see some articles like how Fujinet high score enabled games bring a community together, part two, by Thomas Cherry Holmes. When doing
He's
H,
busy, isn't he? Writing for all the
yeah,
magazines, it seems like.
hmm and he's got another one article. When doing HTTP GET with Fujinet, user mode 12, uh, and some game reviews from Silly Venture, and actually lots of game reviews. Well, yeah, it's general, and yeah,
So I looked up Tasm while you were talking there. Tasmota, Tasmata plus Atari equals the ultimate the universe control center. Tasm is a simple connection between an ESP32 microcomputer running under Tasmota operating system and an Atari. This allows for a greater expanse of the Atari's capabilities in the broadest sense of the word, while also enabling our Atari to be part of a set of Internet of Things devices. Thanks to Tasmata OS, your Atari can communicate with other IoT components and manage our digital home using uh, for instance, Home Assistant software. Now your Atari can become a control center when you can turn the lights on and off, make your morning coffee in the espresso machine, or play your favorite internet radio track on your Atari. The possibilities are limited only by your imagination, and the device is connected to your network. I will put a link to that in here, but I think, I don't know, maybe if you were building a home weather center, that might be useful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you had one.
I do. I just wanted to mention that I had learned that the magazine that we never quite learned how to pronounce, Proc or Pro C, uh, uh, I was wondering what happened to it. It has published its final issue, I guess. The website was last updated in May 2025. The website is gone. It's still up in Internet Archive Wayback Machine, of course. So I guess Proc has concluded with its 15th issue. I looked into it, and the publisher, Marcus Rosner, has had significant health problems and is not able to continue with that project anymore. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's too bad. I thought that was a good magazine.
Yeah, yeah.
I know it hadn't been published for a while, but
So I'm doing what I've asked around to see if we can, if now that he's done with that, if we can get all of the issues of Proc up into Internet Archive or something.
mm,
But we'll see what happens with that.
okay. We have one item under new and updated hardware. It's the 5200 XEGS project, which aims to make your classic super game console, your 5200, into an 8-bit computer. And it comes to us from MyTech. He says, since the 5200 shares a lot of custom Atari VSLI chips that are in the 8-bit computer, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have an adapter that would utilize these same chips to bridge the gap? So in other words, take it from a 5200 into a 5200 XEGS with the flick of a switch. So that's what this project is about. It does require some remapping of the chips in order to put them in the same locations as they are in an XEGS. Another bit of magic needs to happen to embrace the SIO port and the digital joysticks of the computer, being laid out in such a way that it minimizes case surgery on the 5200. Had to give up on the 8-bit cartridge port and opted to include a built-in 8 Pico cart instead to serve this function. Also, because the 5200 only has 16K, this will get boosted up to 1088K, since you can never have too much RAM. And of course, the RF video is going to be upgraded for composite and S-video output. So the initial specs are, it will be based on XEGS hardware architecture, support 16K OS and 2 8K slots, provide full SIO capability, cartridge emulation via the A8 Pico card, 1088K of RAM, 2 standard D-Sub 9 joystick ports, PS2 keyboard, FujiNet built-in, UGV2 video, and target system is the 2-port 5200 console.
Huh.
The latest update is that the PCB layout has been completed.
So this takes the game system that was basically an
Yep.
Atari 400, but not really,
Yep.
and upgrades it to be basically an enhanced XEGS, but not really. Um, only like I assume much heavier and much larger because it's such a large machine
Yeah,
compared to the
5200 is not a small
X.
machine, is it?
No, that's a
Yeah.
that's a wild direction to go in. That's okay. Good luck to you, my tech. Hmm. Huh.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Fun project. All right, let's move into contests. We've got a couple to go through here, and um, Kay, why don't you talk about the High Score Club?
The High Score Club Season 23. Um, Please join the few High Score Club regulars in another season of Atari gaming goodness. There's lots of fun to be had. Terrible players with low scores welcome. Oh, good. It's always nice to feel included. It's all about exploring the games and having fun. Um, of course, if anyone wants to take seriously and go for a coveted high score, then bring it on. No restrictions this year. We'll probably go for 5 games in each poll with 10 points for the winner of each round. Rounds last 2 weeks. Round 1 is Galaxian. Round 2 is Pac-Man. They're going back to the classics. So there's a link to the Atari Age forum if you want to see the discussion and the future rounds that they're doing for the High Score Club. I for one, this is not, I think, not part of the High Score Club, but I have been enjoying a little bit of using the FujiNet's games with the world high score lists. I played some Jumpman a couple weeks ago, and I managed to get onto the high score chart, which I assume that they reset the high score chart every once in a while. They must, otherwise I would never. They must have just reset it the day before or something. But that's another good way to enjoy a kind of a easy high score thing. Just play a game, and then the FujiNet has the world shared high score list, and you can kind of see how you're doing compared to others. And it made me real glad for another reason. I'm glad I changed my name to K, because it's 3 letters and it fits right there on the high score chart. I don't have to do initials or anything like that.
We told the real Bounty Bob we'd talk about it. We try to talk about it once a
Talked about
year,
it. Yep.
and he reminded us to say something about it. I've never joined yet. I should jump in. I like a lot of the classics. Galaxian is one of my favorites, so I really should give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got all of the ABAC competitions. They've all been announced. There's more than just the software, which is actually the game competition. That has been announced. The deadline for that is July 31st. There's also the hardware competition that they have every year. That also runs until July 31st. But there's two others that I don't think really gets a lot of publicity. There's an application software competition that only runs till March 1st. So that's intended for applications for the Atari 8-bit or for applications on other systems for the Atari 8-bit. And then there's the creative competition as well, which I think maybe this might only be the second year for that. It's for unpublished creative works that are executable on the Atari 8-bit or have the Atari 8-bit computer as their theme. So demos, graphics, music, sounds, etc., are what we're talking about there under the creative. So that also runs until March 1st. So there you go. 4 different competitions that you can try to join in there for ABIC. And I was looking at the winner list for 2025. They actually pay pretty well. I mean, you can get 300 euro. I think most of the entries for uh, any of the contests made at least 300 euro, which is nothing to sneeze at.
Oh,
All right, now we're into the other category.
the other category, I added so
You
many
did.
things to the other category. First of all, I'm sad to say that Robert Tinney, the man known for his illustrations of dozens and dozens of Byte magazine covers, has died. Um, Robert Frank Tinney of Washington, Louisiana, passed away peacefully at a rehabilitation center on February 1st, 2026. Uh, he is best known to us as the man who basically drew all of the covers for Byte magazine. Um, he had a very distinctive and beautiful art style. And let's see, it says born in 1947 in New York, Robert moved at a young age with his parents to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, excuse me. And he went to Louisiana Tech University to study illustration and graphic design and commercial art. After graduating and after a tour of service during the Vietnam War, Robert began a career that would see his artwork on the covers and pages of some of the most well-known computing publications in the world, most notably Byte magazine. Due to his signature artistic style, the name Robert Tinney soon became synonymous with the rapidly growing world of computing technology and remains so to this day. Um, and yeah, so thank you, Robert, for your art.
His covers on Byte did exactly what they were supposed to do. At least, well, more than once. It would catch my eye, and I would look at the Byte and end up buying the Byte magazine because the cover caught my eye. And so it was,
Did its job.
yeah.
And the other thing, and this is, man, we should have mentioned this first up. I think the other category should be the first category because I love this category. This is so important and makes me so happy. The Curt Vendel's stuff has ended up at the Strong Museum, which is the best possible news. I cannot overstate how thrilled I am that Curt's material, his Atari collection, has ended up at the Strong and in Rochester. Makes me so happy. I'm going to read what it says. The press release said the Strong Museum, which is in Rochester, New York, is honored to announce the acquisition of the Curt Vendel Atari collection. While the museum has been home to the Atari coin-op division corporate records for some time, this collection represents the other side of Atari, the one of the home computer and console divisions. It includes hundreds of pieces of computer media, along with schematics of both released and unreleased products, press material, retail product source code, and more. And it says the collection is massive and it will take quite some time to fully process, let alone digitize and explore its contents. But the collection has something for everyone interested in video games, and we cannot wait to share more. That is what this Strong said. I I'm thrilled by this. They take such good care of their material. They make stuff available to the public. Um, it is great. And anyway, that's the news. And it didn't get parted out on eBay. It didn't end up in some museum that's going to put it in Fort Knox, and we're never going to be able to access it. It's going to be
Yeah,
it's going to be there at the Strong.
great.
And I told the Strong, I told them, just have a contact there. I'm like, look, I made a joke, but I'm like, I'm not kidding. If you need me to move to Rochester for a year and go through this stuff and sort it and digitize it, I'll be the guy. I will take a year out of my life and make that my job.
Wow.
So I don't know if they have any interest in it and in me doing that, but I'm putting it out there in the universe that I want to I want to be the guy who archives Kurt's material and gets it
That would
digitized
be
and
interesting
sorted.
because
Yeah.
he has some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's that.
nice.
Yeah. And the other thing I mentioned last episode about the Atari Hotel in Phoenix. We've been talking about Atari hotels forever, and originally there was going to be, they said there was going to be an Atari hotel in Las Vegas, um, and then they're like, oh, that's not going to happen, but then COVID happened and blah blah blah, and then it's going to be in Phoenix, and maybe it will or won't happen. But I read a funny article at casino.org, which seems to be news regarding Las Vegas and things, and the headline made me laugh, and it said, "Atari Hotel that was never happening makes headlines for not happening." The,
Right.
the plug has officially been pulled on the Atari Hotel, a project we told you was never happening. Why is this news? Because our local journalists in Las Vegas can't dig up real stories, so fill column inches. They confirm stories and break previously reported stories like they're new. It's fun and cheap and helps divert attention away from the fact traditional journalism is dead. Anyway, they link to the story from 2020 that said the hotel wasn't happening, and another in 2022 that said it wasn't happening, and then yeah, it's definitely not happening. And it goes on to say like they never had money, they never had land, they never had anything, and creating a rendering of a casino is cheap, and creating a hotel is expensive. So
Yeah.
anyway,
So that's the Vegas one is not happening,
the
but
Vegas one's not
the
happening.
plans are still on for Phoenix, as I understand, right?
Yes, plans are still happening for Phoenix, and when and if it opens, we will record an Atari podcast there
Yeah.
together. It'll
Yeah.
be
And that sounds like let's do that. If it really does open,
Yeah.
if it really does, let's go
I'll
to
be there.
Phoenix
Great.
and
I'll be
we'll do a live podcast.
Oh, love it. Great. We'll do a
All right.
walk around. We'll do a video.
Yep.
We'll do the whole thing. Yep.
All right. Yep. It's and so what's that? They're shooting for what 2035 or
We'll go for our 90th birthdays.
yeah, wheel me in a wheelchair. Yeah.
Right.
Well, we'll look for the article that says Phoenix one isn't happening. In the meantime, let's keep our
Right.
fingers crossed.
Right.
All right, let's jump into upcoming computer shows, at least through May, because there's so many shows. I'm going to go through a really long list here. And I'm going to grab the first one because I'm involved with it. That is the Indie Classic Computer and Video Game Expo, which is March 20th through 22nd at the Wyndham Indianapolis Airport Hotel in Indianapolis, Indiana. And Wade's going to tell us about the next one.
So this is the Atari Invasion 2K26 10th anniversary. It's happening on March 21st in, I guess that's Marsen, the Netherlands. And there's a link there to get to that.
And then VCF East, Vintage Computer Festival East, will be April 17th through 19th, 2026, at the Info Age Science and History Museums in Wall, New Jersey. I will be there, and Randy will be there, I believe, too.
I'm trying to. I'm
Great.
still not
Well,
100%.
I bought my tickets. I'm there.
You're there.
I
Okay.
am gonna be there. Yeah.
Brad's going to tell us about the next one.
Yeah, the Midwest Gaming Classic is April 24 through 26 in the Baird Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Not too far from me, although it'd be a
Mm.
fairly few hour drive.
Yeah, afternoon.
VCF Europe is May 1st through 3rd in Munich, Germany.
And
And then,
Wade.
yeah, well, now I'm going to do the next one because I think I'm going to try to go
Okay.
to the Vintage Computer
All right.
Festival Pacific Northwest. Will be May 2nd and 3rd at the Tukwila Community Center in South Tukwila, Washington. I think Seattle. It's south of Seattle.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I'm trying to go.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too far for you from Portland.
Yeah, basically, like if I'm in the mood that day, I will drive up. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's like 2.5 hour drive.
Couple hours.
Not bad. Next one is VCF Southwest, May 19th to the 31st, 2026. This is in Weston Dallas Fort Worth Airport. And there's a link for the VCF Southwest organization, so you can go.
It's
check
actually May 29th.
Did I read that wrong? I
You said
certainly did.
19th.
It's
Yeah.
May 29th, 31st. You're absolutely right.
And Wade's going to be there?
No, it's a little far
No.
for me right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I was
I
trying.
got to make the next VCF Southeast, though. I really need to
Yeah.
make a point of that.
Yeah, I would say when it is, but we can't because it's in June or July. So it's
Go ahead, Brad.
no, I'm not allowed.
Against
I
the
am
rules.
going to talk about RetroFest 2026, which is May 30 through 31st at the Steam Museum of the Great Western Railway in Swindon, UK.
Nice. And I'm
It
going
looks
to
like
break.
Case stuck
don't-
one in.
Okay, all right. I won't say the dates. I'm going to say the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. They finally made the dates for 2026, and I can't say them because they're too late in the year. Sorry.
That's right.
You guys. Oh man.
You said so. So we're
Yeah.
playing the.
Don't make Randy
after May
mad.
31st, we don't care after May 31st. Not this show. All right, YouTube videos. I got a couple here I want to highlight. One comes to us from Flash Jazz Cat, in which he gets in a 130XC to work on, and he puts in a new Acid stereo board, and Ultimate 1 megabyte plug-in, and a decent XE keyboard, and even more upgrades. So nice little updates to a 130XE. And then Tom Cherryholmes put out a video. Tom, I tell you, he's got boundless amounts of energy, I think. He created a video on using FujiNet NOS with an SD card. And he says the FujiNet network provides an SD protocol to access the SD card slot that's in your FujiNet. And this can be used with the Atari 8-bit NOS. And he tells you all about how to do that.
All right.
So,
New old stock FujiNets.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's what that means. Network operating system.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we're going to jump into listener feedback. We got an email from someone who commented on one of our YouTube videos. Tadia Z Marin 5704. He says, "Hello, I'm the strange card game creator here. I stumbled upon this podcast while looking for my own project. I'm the guy that was trying to make the weird card game that you guys mentioned around 1 hour and 22 minutes in episode 123.
Oh, right. It was that card game that none of us had ever heard of.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of. Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
He says he tried to make a game in Fast Basic for the 65XE. He said he only spent a week prototyping the 8-bit version or Atari 8-bit version, but ended up giving up on it. He found out the Atari was too slow for blitting if you use anything other than character mode. He said the project is not dead. I just started over with quick basic targeting MS-DOS. I was surprised that this even appeared on a podcast. since it was just a toy project to play with the 65XE my father-in-law gave me. Awesome podcast. I will start listening to it. So we got another listener as a result.
Yay.
All
Hello,
right.
new listener.
Thank you.
Well, now we're up to 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So in
Okay, I
this,
think
yeah, and next one is me. In December 2025, I mentioned episode 123. I mentioned a game called Beat the Beatles because it had been mentioned in it may be the first video game about the Beatles. Before Rock Band, there was Beat the Beatles, and this was an article at Time Extension, and I had talked about that. And I was just like, we've talked about this, and you guys didn't remember it, and I couldn't find it. Anyway, then I get a message on Facebook from Rich Levin. He said, I'm sitting here listening to the latest ANTIC podcast, and suddenly I hear you mention something near and dear to me, Beat the Beatles. I'm the author. I wrote it in Atari Basic and compiled it using the Monarch Basic compiler. I advertised it and sold it via mail order in Analog Magazine. I had a booth at Beatlefest in New Jersey and sold it there. What a surprise to hear you mention it. Thanks for the adrenaline rush. So uh, we surprised Rich with that, and Rich also was unaware of the article at Time Extension. So yeah. So anyway, that was where Beat the Beatles came from. Rich Levin, Antic listener. Good things happen when you listen to the
Yeah,
Antic podcast.
that's right.
that's right. All right. Well, believe it or not, guys, we've come to the end of the show. I wanted to thank you, Wade, for coming on. Maybe I don't know if you talked about it or not, but can you let everybody know how to get in contact with you and or the website that you run?
Yeah, so there's two websites. The classic Inversataski one, which is inversataski.info.
Ding.
And then the one where I've published all my software is my personal blog, which is unfinishedbitness, bitness.info. And you can reach me through my Inversataski email, which is inversataski@icloud.com. I'm also on Mastodon, but not as easy to find. I think it's an Inversataski on there as well. So maybe it is.
All right, great. Well, for the listeners, we love hearing your memories of the Atari bits. We want to hear what you're working on, just like we heard about everything that Wade's working on. If you're writing a piece of software, developing hardware upgrade, whatever, please share it with us. We definitely are interested in it. And there are many ways you can contact us. Wade's going to tell us how to contact us via email.
ANTIC@AtariPodcast.com.
At Atari Podcast at bluesky.social. Sorry, bsky.social. On Blue Sky, it's Atari Podcast. That's those you need to know.
And Brad's going to tell you our website.
It's www.ataripodcast.com.
Our Facebook page is at facebook.com/group/Atari Podcast. We do have a Discord server whose link you can find in the show notes or at the website. And there are many different ways you can stream Antic. So most of the podcatchers out there have Antic, and you can find it however you want to listen to it. So that's it. Thanks a lot, guys. We appreciate talking with you this month.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for
Thank
having me
you.
on.
This was fun. Good to see you, Wade.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too.